Welcome to another episode of the Life Career Roadmap. And my special guest today is Leticia Samuelsson. Leticia, welcome to the Life Career Roadmap YouTube channel.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you and share my experiences in Australia.
Wonderful. So, Leticia, I'm calling you the way Brazilians or South American pronounce your name, Leticia. I know here in Australia, you have another sound for your name, right?
Yeah.
How people say your name.
From the beginning, I was really shocked because in my mind, everyone could say my name properly. But here I call myself Leticia.
Leticia. So
Nice
it
to
took a
meet
little bit
you.
longer for you to get that sound like the at the end, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
okay.
good now.
So, Leticia, let's introduce yourself by yourself. So, let us know where you come from and what's your professional background.
Well, I'm from Brazil. I was born in Rio Grande do Sul, that is the last state of Brazil. I was born in a very, very small town called Miraguaí.
Miragori.
That is around maybe 5,000 people, very small. The place is the indigenous place, actually. So I grew up with all the indigenous people, like going the same school. I know the culture of them as well. So I stay in this small town until I finish my school, year 12. Then I moved to Mato Grosso, that is central of Brazil. Because in Brazil, to be able to go to university, you need to pass like a test. So I've done this kind of test in the Universidade Federal de Mato Grosso. That is like it's kind of a free university in Brazil, so very hard to get in, but I got the space there. So I moved from Rio Grande do Sul to Mato Grosso, that is around 3,000 Ks.
Mm.
And then I've done my university there. I've finished nursing degree. And then I stay in Mato Grosso for living until I moved to Australia. So I was working as a registered nurse there for around 7 to 8 years before I moved to Australia.
Okay, how interesting. So you can explore the internal and external migration. So, but let's go back for the to the little town where you were born. So, as you said, growing up surrounded by the indigenous, going to school and sharing the same lifestyle with the indigenous, right? When was the first time that you thought that you'd become a nurse? What's something that was in your mind when you were little, or someone told you, or the teachers, or your parents, or what was the point for you to become a nurse? Was when you were little, teenager, or was something last minute that I need to do?
I think I was teenage, around maybe 13 or 14 years old, because it was the time my dad was very sick and I was going in the hospital with him all the time. And then I remember I said to my mom, I want to be a nurse because I really like the way people was, they were treating my dad. And I don't know, I loved the job, how they were doing. And then I remember I said to my mom, I want to be a nurse. And my mom, no way.
What was the reason why not?
And she was like, no, it's really sad. I don't want you to be a nurse because I just feel like it's a very sad career in terms of seeing people dying or sick or in her mind was like, no way my daughter will be a nurse. And until that time, because my dad was a teacher, and I was like, no, I will be a teacher, I will be a teacher. And once I get the experience inside the hospital, seeing everyone, I was like, no, I will be a nurse.
Yeah.
And this is my career. And I never change.
And so, and back again to the little town when you grew up, where you grew up. So, having that reality that was a common ground for you playing with everyone. Have you ever, in that time, playing with the other kids or going to school, thought about moving to a different place, a different city, or a different country?
No, it's was like no really in terms of. I feel like we didn't have much opportunity in that town. So I feel like no, I never think to move from that town or yeah, never. Um, if I look back in my mom's family, I was the first one to have a degree.
Oh.
So, and I'm not that old, but looking back, I didn't have any cousins, like uncles or aunties. No one had any degree before. So I was the first one to have a degree. So, yeah, it's kind of when you are in that situation, we can't really see something else. It's like that is my life and that will be my life.
Reality. Yes. But then when came the time of you finishing high school, that you said you want to become a nurse or a teacher, probably teacher, you could stay in your city.
Yeah.
But as I understand, in Brazil, you had the vestibular that we had it as a test score that you need to get in the university. So did you apply to study in your state? Because moving to a new state is something else. How was the story behind moving to a new state?
So my sister, she when she got married, this was like in 1993. So it was 30 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after 1 year they were married, my brother-in-law, he was working in a bank. And then he found out that in Mato Grosso has like he couldn't transfer from Rio Grande do Sul to Mato Grosso. And he was like, let's move. And then they decide to move to Sinop, that is a city like very close to Pará, like very
Red North. Yeah.
north. And then they decide to move. They moved there. And then when was my time to do this vestibular, the tests, Mato Grosso was one option because I just have her as a sister. I don't have more of siblings. So I decide, no, I really want to go and live close to my sister. And my dad, he passed away when I was 16. So when I was doing all these tests, just me and my mom, so we could move whatever we want. So then I did this test in Mato Grosso. I did in Pelotas, that is Rio Grande do Sul. And then I've done in Santa Maria, that is another city in Rio Grande do Sul. I passed, so Mato Grosso was the first in terms of the results.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The
Results
results
first.
came first from Mato Grosso. So I passed Mato Grosso, I passed Pelotas, and I was like in third place, like
Waiting list.
so yeah, in the waiting list for the Santa Maria. And yeah, like in my mind, no, Mato Grosso will be the first option because we really want to live close to my sister again. So we moved to Mato Grosso in 2000.
So, Leticia, moving to internally, moving to another state, going to another city, and we know Brazil, we have different regions, and every region has its peculiarities and culture. So, but Mato Grosso, it's a place where many cultures go in, and especially the gauchos, right? Because of the farm culture and agricultural culture, let's say this way. And going to Mato Grosso, how different was or how similar, and how did you adapt to the new city? Because you had your sister there, was probably some support, so you feel how you felt welcomed. But tell us, how was this transition for you, being a teenager and starting degree on the degree?
The thing is, where my sister was living was 500 k's from where I need to live to study. So it wasn't really close, but my mom will be living with close to her, and then I will be like going by myself to Cuiabá, that is the biggest city in Mato Grosso. So it was pretty hard, especially the weather is completely different. So Mato Grosso is like between 30 to 43 degrees always.
Cuiabá especially, very humid.
Especially Cuiabá. So it's really hot. And yeah, it was really, really difficult because I didn't know anyone. So I went to the city with not knowing, like, was really crazy. So I found kind of a hostel that I could stay for a week until I find a place to live. So it was a bit hard from the beginning to find the right group, a share house, and some of the share houses were really difficult. So until I found my place, took me a while to be able to, like, now I'm okay. And for me as well, food was really, really different from what I was normally eating. So I had a very, yeah, it was difficult, especially because myself, I don't know why, but I don't like garlic.
And everyone there, we use garlic.
And they put garlic everywhere, like in all the food. And I was like, this is crazy. So I was leaving 2 minute noodles for many months until I found, because the place I was living for the beginning, I couldn't cook. And I just asked this lady, I said, please let me just do the 2 minute noodle so I can eat.
Ah.
So it was a bit hard from the beginning. And I think I had like like my blood pressure just dropped because the hot, and like until I think your body adapt to the weather is,
Yeah.
was big challenge. And now I love Cuiabá.
I know the feeling. So, Leticia, and how was for you getting, because you came from a small town and you knew everyone knew you, you were very like the girl um, in there. So, going to Cuiabá, where you didn't know anyone, how was for you to start getting to know people, making friends, and especially coming from this little town that you felt you had everyone by your side?
Yeah. Uh, the good thing, like, and I had a very good group from the uni, so I was very fortunate to have these girls around me. And I found, as I said, especially one, like she's my sister, um,
For another
by
month.
choice, yeah, by heart. Yeah, until now, so it's like 23 years of friendship.
It was hard from the beginning, or you had
Was
to?
really, really hard, but the thing is, I'm very, like, I feel I talk too much.
So you
And
could
then,
talk to anyone.
yeah, so I'm very easy to find people around. Of course, it's hard because you don't have your safe space, but I always, yeah, I'm easy to talk and find people around, and yeah, I think it was okay.
That's okay. So do you believe would it be different or similar going from Cuiabá to your little town or any other town, city in Rio Grande do Sul state, like easy to get friendships, or would
You
be
mean like
the
it
opposite way
the other way? I think the other way could be more difficult,
or hard?
especially the thing is like Cuiabá was big, a very big city compared to the little town. So I think if you going in the opposite way, it could be more difficult to adapt.
Mhm.
But from the little town to the big one, I think you are more like, oh wow,
Yeah, what can I do
another
now?
world.
So then you did your studies, and when was the idea or the opportunity to move to Australia? What happened?
Yeah, this is something that never came to my mind, to move to a different country. And especially for me, well, like I've never had any interest in to learn English at all. So I've never been in a classroom to learn English in my whole entire life before I moved to Australia.
Ah.
So never, like I've never think about even learning English. I didn't like even listen music in English, nothing, because I was like, I don't understand. So anyway, and life can like it's everything changed.
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? Love.
Love. Okay, so you met an Australian guy or not?
No. So Angelo is Brazilian as well, and I knew him when I was doing uni. So he was my friend back in 2004, 2005. I knew him. I always talked to him, so we were a good friends. Um, and then after 6 years, we met again. And then on that time, he become more than friend.
Okay, so it's not dating.
Yeah, so he was living in Australia for since 2008, and then our lives went in a different way. So he got married, I got married, and both didn't work. And then in 2011 we met again, and then yeah, I decided to move to Australia.
So in this case, like you both guys got married and your both relationships didn't work well, so you
Yeah,
became single again. And then
single again.
he was working in Australia and he went back to Brazil. Is that right? He
Yeah,
went back to for a visit or to work. And
yeah.
how I'm curious now.
So yeah, he went to my city where I was living, and was kind of, oh, let's see if this will work. And
Okay.
I was like, I don't think this will work, but okay, let's see each other. And
So he
work
made
out.
he proposed to come to Australia because he was there just for a period of time. And then how did you feel when he proposed to you to come and live in Australia? Because you never thought about.
No, I think, yeah, I was like, no, this is crazy. I don't speak any English. How can I move to Australia? And the thing is, I was working so in Brazil, to be able to work as like in the government job, you need to do a tests.
Yeah, it's a very different. Yeah, you
Yeah,
go
so
test
it's really different from here. So it's not just an interview. In there is like a test,
you
and
sit down and do tests. Yeah,
yes,
exams.
a
Yeah.
lot. So I had a very stable job, and I said, no, I'm not moving. And I had, like, it was a really good job that I was there. And I said, how can I can't really leave a job that is so hard to get in. So because it was like a 7 years, I could get the long service leave. That was in Brazil is like 3 months only. And then you can get like, I don't know the word, but you don't receive any salary, but you can get like a 2 years
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, break and then yeah, it's no
Yeah.
payment at
And it
a break
doesn't
of
really,
payment.
like, if I want to come back, my place will be safe there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, it's not really risky
Mm-hmm.
to go to Australia. I can have 3 months earning my salary, and then I can have 2 years of break. And if this is not my place to stay, I can come back. So was my
Plan.
mind was like, I think I will come back. Let's see. And then I moved in November of 2011 to Australia. And yeah, and I'm here.
So, and then you came, did you get married in Brazil or you came as uh, partners and got married here? Because I know your daughter was born here.
Yeah. So this was November 2011. We didn't really feel the necessity of getting married. We just start to live together. So he was my partner. And then I had 2 girls. And in 3 years ago, we decided, no, I think we need to get married. So we made a wedding. So now we're married.
So, Leticia, let's go back to the time when I met you. And what I heard from you was a very sad moment that you had in your life because you were missing your profession, missing your job that you loved so much. And you couldn't see the future, going back to your career, because people would tell you that it was impossible to get your reconnection here with your career. So tell us more about how this came or became a problem for you when you start hearing that wouldn't be possible for you to go back to your career.
Yeah, I think when the first time you just arrive to Australia, you feel like, oh, in a few years, my English will be amazing
Mhm.
because I'm living here. It's like, obviously, that your English will be perfect in a few years. And that's not true.
Illusion and delusion.
No, yeah, really. Especially like in my inside in like at home, we just speak Portuguese. So it's kind of, yeah, it's really hard to, and it's a dream that your English will be good. I feel will never be great, but I'm here. So I think was after my daughter was born, my first daughter. She's 10 now, but around what happened? So I came to Australia with no English. I've done just 6 months in the international school, and I start in the beginner class, and I finish after 6 months. I finish just one level up from the elementary. So I was like intermediate something. Anyway, I got pregnant on that time. My husband was the interpreter for everything, from the doctor to the hospital to have birth and everything. He was like going with me for all the appointments. Then when she was born, I start I could go to TAFE. So I've done it's the English that most of refugees and
It's
people,
a map program.
yeah, AMAP. So I could go to this class. So I've done another term, or no, 2 terms on this class as well. But AMAP is not really professional kind of English. It's
Day
more
by
in
day,
terms of how people can live in Australia.
go around. Yeah.
Yeah. So how you go to the doctor, how it's more in terms of to be able to do things here. So it's not really academic English. Anyway, I've done this too. So I finished the MAP course, and then I said, I need to work. I need to do something, because I just feel like when I expose, especially I think like when you expose yourself to the situations, you will learn.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start to do a certificate in health service assistant. Is kind of to be carer or support worker. So I've done this course. It was just 13 weeks, very quickly. And then I got the job in a nursing home. I don't know how I passed the interview. I just remember the lady, she said like, oh, you were a nurse in Brazil, so you know how to do the job. The English will come. Don't worry. And I'm okay. So I worked 2 years in a nursing home. And then this time, I think it's the time you realize, like, I don't really want to do this job forever. I need to do more. And especially looking the nurses that were around, I just feel like I can do this job. I don't need to do just care. I'm able to do. But anyway, I've done one English test and I didn't pass at all. Was really horrible score. And then was the time that I feel, and especially when you move to Australia and you met people that has the same career and everyone will say like, oh no, it's really hard. It's almost impossible to be a nurse here. You need to do this, you need to do that. And you just start to feel like, I'm not able to do my job here. How can I, I couldn't see anything else. It's like everyone always say that it's impossible. And when I've done the English test, it was horrible. And I was like, I don't know how to do. So this is, I think, is the time, and it was around 3 years. And to be able to apply using your
Qualifications.
degree from background, you have to do like within 5 years. So the time was coming, and I was like, I will not be able to do. And you need to have like the last 5 years, you need to have minimum 3 months of experience working as a registered nurse. And I was like, if it's 4 years and I couldn't apply for APRA, I will lose the opportunity. And this is the time of you feel like what I need to do, what I can do. And no, this is something that will never happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's the time that you just become very sad and frustrated as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you, I believe I asked you who told you that you can't be. And then you said to me, everyone. And then you said, why don't you get the right information, what you need to do, and make a plan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I remember you went there and sent me back, well, I have other options. And one of them is do a master's degree.
Yeah.
Was And then I remember when you said, hey, I just got accepted
Yeah.
to my master's.
So what happened? Like then I had my second daughter in 2017. So when I was pregnant, so I finished this job as a carer and I become like a support worker that was a little bit like less physical demanding. And I was pregnant. I said, no, I'm doing something a little bit easier. So I've done, I think it was almost, no, I was 10 months doing support work in the community. And then I had Louisa, and then I got 1 year of maternity leave. And this 1 year was the time that I said, I'm not going back to do that job. I'm not going back. And then I've done kind of a PT course, 2 weeks, and I was like, no, I'm going to study and pass the
English
English
test.
test. And then I've done, Louisa was 8 months old, I think. I've done these 2 weeks of intensive PT course. And I didn't get
This course.
the score that I need. And I was like, oh my God, I need what I can do. And I just feel like when you really want to do things, doors will open for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was talking to another friend that she works at Curtin University, and she said, "Oh, I heard that Curtin has like a English pathway that you can go.
The bridging course, yeah.
And then this is around $10,000, this course. But the government, they pay around, I think it was like 16 spaces for Australian. But no one need, actually. Who needs the English pathway to, like, Australian, they don't need.
Mhm.
So these 16 spaces, really, they don't really use. So this was like September 2018. And then I called this place and I said, oh, I heard about this English pathway. I'm Australian citizen, but I really need to do this English to be able to do my degree. And she said, yes, it's free. And you just need to apply. She sent me all the links. I applied. That time my husband was working away. I even didn't communicate him.
I'm just doing it right now.
And then on the same day, I got the acceptance, and I was like, "Wow, it's becoming real."
Yeah.
So now I have something to do. So then I communicate the job that I will not come back from the maternity leave, and then I start doing this pathway via Curtin. So I was accepted for the 17 weeks of English. It was a full time, every day from morning to afternoon, 17 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very intensive English course. But I think it was essential for me to be able to do my master's. So after in my mind, I was not going to be in the master's. I will apply for the undergraduate. So I went, what I've done before I apply, I book an meeting with the coordinator of the undergraduate. And then I got a meeting with the coordinator of master's. So I went in both to have their opinion.
Mm.
So to go to the undergraduate, I need A minus something, A minus. But to go to master's, I need A.
So
And
English
then,
level.
from this pathway.
Yeah.
So I finished this English with the A. And then I was like, why am I going to do undergraduate again if I have my undergraduate from Brazil? I will go to master's.
That's right.
So then I went for these both meetings, and I remember the lady from the master's, the professor, she was very like, no, why you are going to do undergraduate again if you can do master's? No, you do master's. But to be able to do masters, you need to have the course. It's CWA. It's course. It's like average in terms of score, the whole university. So to be able to apply for masters, the CWA should be minimum 7 from your previous degree. And I had almost 8 from Brazil. So I was like, no, I'm fine. I have the English, I have everything. I'm going to master. So it was really happy time.
I remember that. Got the message.
And then I started doing masters was July 2019.
Hey, so the term of working out what would work for you and having the kids in the middle, husband working FIFO. So well done, well done. And I must say, when I met you for the first time that you came to see me, your English needed lots of improvement. And you didn't even want to speak in English with me. You said, no, I want to speak in Portuguese. Remember that? And listening to you right now, it's amazing to see how clear you are and how you speak. So well done. Congratulations, Leticia. Yeah, and the good thing also, when we have kids, they force us to speak well as well, because they
Yes,
correct us all the time, right?
all the time.
So there's a good hand there. So
Yeah.
Leticia, and then you did your master's, and the other message that I got from you was, "Hey, I am working near you." When I was working
Yeah.
for the government, so I was in a building, and you were just like
Yeah. Very
meters
close.
away from me. And then I said, "What? I cannot believe." So you finished the master and got the job that you are doing right now. That is.
Yes. Now I'm child health nurse, just working with babies.
Ah.
Good.
So you are the one that moms come not knowing anything, the first time moms, and hi Leticia, my son is this way, my daughter is this way, and you just say, oh, keep calm, relax, right? You know the message that we get always when you have the worry about our kids when you are first time moms, and the nurse have this role of keeping us calm and having this tranquility that everything it's okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it has been amazing. So when I finished my master's, and I just feel like everything worked so well in every aspect. Because if I like being able to do a master gave me the opportunity to apply for the Grad Connect.
Mhm.
That's the opportunity for the new grad that is they finish the undergraduate or masters or anything. So the government gives this opportunity to work as a grad nurse for 1 year with all the support. So I applied for, in my mind, was PCH, that is the Perth,
Children's Hospital.
the hospital, Perth Children's Hospital. And then, but the CAS, that is the Child and Adolescent Health Service, is like they have like an umbrella of all the service. So community is one, mental health is another one, PCH is another one. So in my mind, I was going to PCH, but after the interview, I received the letter that I was accepted for community. And I was like, oh, I don't know. My mind was going to the hospital, but let's see what will happen. So I started doing this community. So the beginning, I was doing school nurse. So it's something different from the child health nurse. But at the same time, they pay for you to do the postgrad. So I didn't stop studying. I just on top of a full-time job, you need to do a postgrad. So it was a really challenge last
Two
year.
kids, uh-huh.
2 kids, the FIFO husband, and work full-time and postgrad. That's all good. But they always, like we had study day. So I feel like it's so supportive. Like they give a lot of support for this grad that like for this whole year. So I was really happy about all the support they gave. And then when we finished this postgrad, I got the offer to become a child health nurse in the same team, same region.
Okay.
So Yeah, now I'm working just as a child health nurse.
Just no, as one.
But before 3 months ago, I was doing child health nurse and school nurse as well. So it was two different jobs. Now I'm only at doing child health nurse.
Wonderful. So let's go back now for the challenges. Okay. Just talking about you had the challenge moving from the little town to Cuiabá and all the situations that we went through to be able to adapt and see you moving forward. So when you see yourself or your journey moving from Brazil to Australia and not having English, what were your main difficulties or barriers in front of you that you saw that you could not move from to where you want to be?
You mean from when I came
To
here?
Australia, yeah.
I think the most difficult is the language barrier that you have. Like you feel it's really hard. And like right now, I know my English isn't perfect and will
For
never be.
me,
And I passed this level of thinking about English and English. I just feel like, do they get the message that I want to give?
stand out, yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when you're trying to do things and you get stuck, in my experience was this English test. So every time when you talk about IELTS, PT,
Go Phil.
OET, is kind of a monster that is like, it's really make, like in my experience, every time I speak about English test, I was like horrified, because it's like, and the thing is, the English test really doesn't
That's you.
test your English.
Yeah.
And it's a technique. If you know how to do it, you pass. And even if you don't speak English.
Yes.
But this is kind of the thing that is like really hard for me to get over.
Yes.
I think everything else can go really well, but when you need to do something, I just feel like your mind is kind of blocked and you can't see anything over
Beyond
that.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like this English test is like a really,
Is your enemy in front of you every
yeah,
day.
it's like an enemy to how you can get over.
Yes. And now, Leticia, you have your two children that were born here. And I know you went back to Brazil, and also you had your wedding in Brazil, right? So how was for you bringing your kids to Brazil and their experience coming back to a place or going to a place where they had no idea, they didn't know about, but being very familiar with the culture that they had at home? So could you share the experience, how it was for you as a family and for your kids?
They love
Yeah.
every time when we go. But this is the thing, like when we think about, okay, there is my hometown, but it's not the hometown for like the home for my kids is Australia.
Mhm.
And but because we share like things here, this is like a really Brazilian house.
Mhm.
So every time when we go back, it's they love, but the same time it's not really different in terms of communication because we speak Portuguese at home all the time. When my mom came, she stays for 6 months. no trouble to communicate with her because they are able to speak English, Portuguese normally. So they really like to go back. We are planning to go next year. So, but one thing that was really interesting for me, I mentioned to my eldest daughter, how about moving to Brazil one day and living there? And she looked at me like, no, I don't want to live there. I like to go as a holiday, but not to live. And she was like, why are you saying this?
Is there any possibility? And what was the reason behind that, that she didn't want to move? Because there are many reasons, right? So it could be many different reasons.
Yeah.
She give you any specific reason why she didn't want to go to Brazil to
Oh,
live?
she was like, no, I want to live in Australia. I can go just for holiday, but not moving there. She has a good friendships and she really like the school she goes. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel she's happy here.
Rooted here. She's rooted here.
Yeah, yeah,
So, Leticia, and you touched base in something that is very common among families that migrate to another country. One is the clash of cultures, right? So you have your husband, Brazilian, who is Brazilian, so you share the same culture. But also, you could decide to not speak Portuguese with your kids, instead, just speaking English because they are in a country that speaks English. We see lots of when you have marriage from different cultures, one from a culture or another. So the language, the native language from the parents gets lost for some reason. Have you experienced that with your friends that have this kind of situation where they have kids in Australia and the kids cannot really communicate in the parents' language?
yeah. Actually, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially a few friends, like the grandparents, came to Australia for visit, and they can't really communicate with the grandkids.
And there is no connection, right? Then.
And I feel like there is no connection because if you can't really communicate, how it's hard. It's really hard. But yeah, it's their choice. I
And
feel like, especially, I have a feel that both are Brazilians, and yeah, and I just feel like when this beginning of the early years, when you lost this exposure to another language, yeah, it's really hard to come back.
yeah, and normally people ask, how do you do that? Because it's so difficult. This is part, I believe, one of our understanding and awareness about our kids and the way we are living. So, for example, my son, at a point in time, he didn't want to speak in Portuguese anymore because, of course, it's like it's much easier for you to speak in English. You go to school, everyone is speaking English. You turn the TV on, the radio on, everyone is speaking English, and your mom is speaking Portuguese with you. What's the problem in that, right? And he was like refusing to reply in English, and I used to tell him, could you say in Portuguese? Oh, mom, the kind of thing, right? Kids don't want to. And I didn't stop. I continued speaking in Portuguese, and I had to speak in English to improve my English, but also understood that it was my duty help my kid to have this knowledge that he could choose later if he want to speak or not, but he had to be exposed and get his ears, the ears of listening to something to be able to identify. So in a time when I was teaching Portuguese and I had a couple having lessons with me, they asked me the difference between the Brazilian Portuguese and the Brazilian Portuguese from Portugal. And then my son came out of his bedroom and said, "Well, there are different meanings, and also the way you pronounce the sounds." And I was looking, how do you know that? So he was listening to me teaching in Portuguese. And he has Portuguese, he speaks Portuguese. Of course, writing is not something that is fluent, but if he needs, of course, it'd be much easier for him take a time and learn how to write. But listening and speaking for him became part of who he is. Like, I have another language that I can use. And moving to Europe, he said, "Mom, I have so many friends from Portugal, and they speak funny, yeah, different from our Portuguese, and also Spanish people." So he was very, let's say, used to. And you see kids when they grow up that they don't have the opportunity to learn their parents' language, they regret to, right? I should have done it. I should have done with my parents, but I didn't want it to that time. And becomes harder, as you said, becomes harder after that.
I remember Louisa, my little one, she was at the daycare. And after the COVID, we have a friend. So her family, they went to Brazil before the COVID, and then COVID came, and they stay. I think it was 1.5 years there before they moved back to Australia. So her daughter, she was in the same daycare of mine, and then she stayed 1.5 years in Brazil. So the time they came back, this little girl, she couldn't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in 2022. 22? No, 21. Yeah, end of 21. So she was in the daycare. And was so beautiful because her friend, for example, she wants to go to the toilet, and she will say to Louisa, "I need toilet." And Louisa always was the interpreter to the teachers. "Oh, she wants toilet. Oh, she wants something. Oh, she's asking something else." So, and she was, what, 3 years? And she was translating, and I was like, "Oh my God."
And a blessing, right? It's a blessing. Another thing that I'd share quickly, when I went to Brazil with my son, he wanna talk to people in Portuguese, right? And he would come back to me if he didn't know any word, or after he's saying that he didn't want to speak in Portuguese anymore, he went, "Mom, how can I say this? Mom, how can I say that?" I said, "I don't know. You said to me that you don't want to speak Portuguese, so I don't know." And then it was a big lesson for him to pay attention. And then he started paying attention. That's why he now can speak in Portuguese, because I didn't make his life easy. Right? I said, no, I don't know. Find yourself your Portuguese there, or the way what you want. That's it. So, Leticia, so you came and had all this hard work to do, and to get your energy out of somewhere to be able to do what you have done, and especially being a mom with 2 kids, having a husband who is five, and you know that families that have a FIFO person doing this kind of job, they suffer a lot, right? And how did you keep up with everything? If there is anyone else out there going through the same situation or similar, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to do something, wants to move forward, but is going through all these hurdles of being a newcomer, having to take care of the kids, not having this kind of structure in the family, having someone who is working to provide food and everything.
Yeah.
So What kind of advice based on your own experience?
Yeah. Um, since I finished and I'm working as a registered nurse, many people came to me and asked, wow, how can I do that? How can I? And I feel like now I'm able to share the experience and help them. But I just want to mention one thing that for me was really meaningful, I feel. So this 1 year of the grad program, I was able to experience different service that we provide. So I went for 1 week to the refugee health team, and I went for a home visit for a new family. They just arrived to Australia from, I don't remember the place. But anyway, they came as a refugee. So mom, I think they have 4 kids, husband. So I went with the nurse and the interpreter to do like the home visit for the family. And then I found out this lady, she's doing the AMAP, the course. And I was there just to observe how things were going, but I couldn't control myself. And I asked permission to just share something with that mom. And she's younger than me. And I just feel like I need to share my experience. So, and the nurse said, oh, yes, of course, you can talk. That's no problem. So I said to this lady, this course that you are doing now, the adult migrant English program, I've done exactly the same course. And when I said, like, I've done the same course as what she's doing now, when the interpreter said this, she looked at me like, and I could see her eyes shining.
Like the lights at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, I said to her, I came to Australia with no English. Of course, can take long time to be able to speak, but I just want to share. I came to Australia with no English. I've done exactly the same course you were doing, and now I'm here as a registered nurse. And I'm here as a professional, and I just want to give you some hope that you can do. You are able to do whatever you want to. Just give you a time and you can find the way you want to do. And she really, I saw her eyes. I thought that she was going to cry, but
I am the most, yeah. I have goosebumps.
yeah, but just like for me, I said I can't really control. Like I need to share because she is doing exactly the same pathway that I was doing, and now I'm here as a professional.
That's right.
Of course, took around 10 years, but doesn't matter.
But in between, you had 2 kids, just
Yeah.
to remind you, right?
Yeah. So I always what I say when people, for example, when I started masters, they were like, "Oh my God, going back to uni another 2 years," and I said, 2 years will pass anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't matter. If you start doing, doesn't matter if it's part-time, do 1 unit, do something. Because if you do something now, the time will pass anyway. And when you look back, oh, thanks I started, because I just feel like the time will pass and you just need to know where you want to go, what you want to be, and start slowly. You don't need to do everything at once, but just do something.
That's right,
Yeah.
Leticia. And I know that's the reality. The time will pass anyway, but as a newcomer, we want the solutions for yesterday, and
Yeah.
you want everything to be done because we are in a hurry to achieve things that we don't know even how to.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you came here to share your story, because I saw you from where you started in Australia and what you have done to do what you want to do and achieving what you want to achieve. So it takes time, and the roadmap is based on roadblocks too, right? They are not an easy way to go in front of you. They are always something that comes to challenge you. Is really what you want to do? You need to go through this test. So it's life test that comes to us. And as we have the clear idea what you want to do, as you said, when you met your friend that gave you that information, right? So happens because you know you are tuned to the things that you want to do, and you are very focused on things that you want to do. So congratulations. And that's why I want to share your story here in the channel, because you have been through this, and so many moms out there waiting for their opportunity to go back to their careers because they have stopped, because they have migrated, because they are lonely, because they are single moms, or because their partners are doing FIFO. So there is always an opportunity. It's always thinking what comes next and where you want to be. And you said, right. And I'm so glad for you. So glad, so happy that you have moved forward and you continue moving forward
Yeah.
and setting the examples for your kids too, right? Nothing is impossible. Just
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a good strategy. So, Leticia, I know you have migrated from south of Brazil, but I know you have a very strong roots from south of Brazil, and one of them is the chimarrão. Ting ting. So Leticia has some tea that she's drinking. I just missed my point. Mine has nothing here, but I brought my cuia and my bomba to say we are together on this, right? So well done. And I love this drink here. And yesterday, when I gave an interview to a podcast, I was even talking about how chimarrão helped me to break the mold of Rio Grande do Sul and be able to make friends with my chimarrão. So it's a very social instrument in the south of Brazil. So thinking about your favorite dish from Brazil, which dish do you like the most? And when you eat here in Australia, you feel like this is childhood.
Hmm. Actually, don't know, because as I always say, I don't really miss.
Because you have everything here.
And I'm a very good cooker. so so I can cook everything. For example, I love doing polenta.
And
Yesterday, my husband made barbecue, a Brazilian barbecue, and yeah.
but wait a minute. There is something that even if you can get here, this taste is not the same. And I tell you what is. Pinhão. Do you like pinhão?
Oh,
It's not the same.
Miss. But the thing is, like I said to my family, can you just freeze
some? I did the same when I went to Brazil.
Yeah, when we go there, there is no
And the season of pinhão,
the
right?
season
So
is not the
it's not. So when I went last time as well, I asked for a cousin to cook and freeze everything, and I couldn't. But what I remember is traveling in Rio Grande do Sul roads and going up to the hills, right, to the mountains, and then having these vendors to the side cooking pinhão, and you see the smoke going up, and getting a bag of pinhãos, and then your hands get all dirty, and you eat in a very cold weather. So this is the taste of pinhão. Despite we get here as pickles, it's not the same. It's not the same.
No.
You can eat it, but it's like I believe is the process of traveling, buying, seeing the person cooking the pinhão, the smoke and the smell, and the cold weather together. So everything makes the experience right.
And I think like traditional festa junina.
Yeah,
When
it's different in south of Brazil.
Yeah.
Completely.
We try to do here, but it's not the same as if you are there.
And the other thing, you lived in Cuiabá for a good period of time.
Yeah.
Did you get used to eat Cuiabá food, especially the fish?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. What kind of fish do you like from there?
I think pacu is the
Pacu,
most.
it's the most common there, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Leticia, thank you very much for coming and sharing your life career journey and helping others to understand and being aware that there are many possibilities, but time needs to be a factor that you need to consider. And being in a rush makes you more frustrated. And take your time and you'll be there. And going to school for 2 years is nothing compared for the amount of years that you have in front of you to live your life in this beautiful country and contribute as well.
That's
right. So thank you very much. And I see you next with the next news that you send me by text. Says, hey, Sima, I love getting your message saying what's going on in your life. So thank you very much for keeping me on the loop as well.
Thank you.
So, for you watching this episode, thank you very much. And I'm sure you have learned a lot about resilience and being focused on what you want. Of course, the process takes a little bit of time and the hard work that you need to invest in achieving what you want to achieve. And remember to subscribe and see you next in the next episode. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.